and then potentially going on to the college football player.
Now I think everybody can hear me.
Think about these two powerhouses, including the defending national champion. How would you assess them going into the season?
Well, probably as strong as ever, but not without question. I mean, let's start with that.
All right.
Alabama came up last year, probably going to be at worst.
Why am I red?
Football, according to the AP poll. If you favor the Buckeyes, fine. Might be Bama, might be the Buckeyes. Doesn't really matter. You're splitting hairs at the top. Alabama does have to replace some pieces, though. We all talked about last year. What were they like without their key weapons? What were they like without Jameson Williams and John Mechie down the stretch? What things
I was muted for some reason, but
throughout the course of the season? I don't know if any of us know.
didn't mean to be muted.
Question, but we know
I think we're live now.
the guys that were
What's up, True?
relied upon to catch the football and make plays
All right, so
are a little bit more of an unknown. Will the offense change as a result? Probably. You bring in Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia
all right.
who's a little bit like Reggie Bush. I don't want to put that type of expectation on him, but the skill set mirrors
So
that.
once all the
Jeff Collins. You also add in Jermaine Burton from
people come on
Georgia.
TV, I'll put the sound on a little bit.
Hoping to step up on the outside. So Bryce Young, he's a superstar at quarterback, but it is a relatively inexperienced supporting cast around him. Then you go to Georgia, you lose so many great pieces off the side of football. They were deep, they were great, but the best part about that group last year was the front seven. You have to replace three linebackers.
What is that? Stream Elements bot running.
So these teams, yes, they are without question the favorites in their respective division, but they also have a lot of
What that
questions
is.
between now and the start of the season.
Well, I'm just going to flat out there and just say, Greg.
So
If Alabama does not.
there's nothing's going on just yet. Be right back. Let me see something real quick. Man, it's OBS is weird this morning. One second. Be right back. What's Stream Elements bot running? I have no idea what the hell that is. That's the first time that's ever popped up. Let's see if I can get this thing. It won't let me change the live chat on OBS, which is weird. That's weird as hell.
And I think there is pressure, but I also think this is a revenge story for Saban because he lost the championship last year. That's how ridiculous this really is. When people were asking, hey,
All right.
other than Alabama can push the guy.
Roman Harper. Man, Roman Harper. Ex-Saints. Yeah, well, I guess I can't change it to live chat on the.
Greg, did you notice
Oh,
he
well.
said almost road
Chat's all screwed up. I guess I have to watch the chat on my phone. The chat's all screwed up on OBS. Won't let me change it to live chat. Refresh it. If I reload the widget. Man, football's coming, man. Football's coming, True. It's coming. It's coming. Football's coming.
That comes your way at 11:45, and then of course you'll hear from LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri today as we kick things off from Atlanta.
Yeah,
But
so.
we'll carry on with a lot more coming your way from here, and keep it locked right here on SEC Network for all of the coverage throughout this week. Our SEC Now special 2022 SEC kickoff is presented by Regents.
Now, okay, now let me change the chat to live chat. Now the chat's back up. Good. Now I can see the chat on OBS. Good. What's going on, True? Now that I got on computer issues. All right, now I can share this out on the stuff. All right, now I can share this out. All right. There we go. Now I got it. Now I got to tweet it out. Testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. I got this shit all got all the problems fixed. I think. Probably not, but oh well. All right, yeah. So it's gonna be a while before Brian Kelly speaks. Edward O, what's going on, Edward O? Ready for media days? I think, but BJ Ojolari, Jack Besh, and then Mike Jones. I think is that's the players that are going to be speaking for LSU. Of course, Brian Kelly speaks around I think 11:30 Central. I think 11:30 Central. Brian Kelly speaks, so be a while before he speaks. So. Yeah, I'm going to try to get his audio. Of course, I can't show it, but it's going to be a while before he speaks. But hopefully they don't take me down for that. YouTube shouldn't take me down for that. I'm not showing it, so. What's up, Jameis? So yeah, they shouldn't take me down for the audio. I mean, there's audio in the baseball games I do, so. So what's going to happen this season, the SEC? What's going to happen? I don't know. Yeah, media days gets me pumped up because it's like it's coming. Football's coming. It's July, so. Middle of next month is NFL preseason, and then end of the month of August is college football. So it's coming. It's coming. So it's coming. It's coming. It's gonna be here sooner than later. So LSU's up first. They're up first today. I'm surprised they're on the first day. Oh well. At least we get it out early. So Brian Kelly. I think Sankey speaks at like in a half hour. So we got a whole bunch of nothing. So to Sankey speaks and then Brian Kelly speaks. I don't know what the SEC network, how they're going to fill, over an hour. I guess they just talk about every team, I guess.
The two teams right now that are really kind of in different places. Utah firmly established culture, hoping this year to be the representative from the Pac-12 to get to the college football playoff. And guess what? They're going to the swamp in September.
What's up, normal guy? How you doing?
Like they're going to see that night. It's going to be one heck of an outcome. Hey, could be a big win for Billy Napier.
What's going on? Normal guy? Oh, what's up? As man. There should be some good games week one. You got Oregon and Georgia. I think Notre Dame's playing Ohio State, I believe. Oh, Brian Kelly, remember he's at LSU now, not Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, Greg, you talked about it off the top of the show. The story around Georgia is going to be who they lost. It's not just Kirby Smart may want it to be about who they still have, but 15 players drafted. Exactly. And 9 of those guys on the defensive side. So when you think about how they start the season off against Oregon, what are your expectations?
Well, coupled that with the fact that, like y'all alluded to, Dan Lanning, formerly of Georgia, now the head coach at Oregon. So if there's one thing he knows is, all right, what gives my defense fits? Hey, let's try that against that defense, all right? So I think that there is a really interesting game within the game between the coaches. And look, if we're going based on actual personnel, Georgia, massive roster. It's amazing, beautiful. However, it's inexperienced, especially on the defensive side of the football. We talked about only 3 starters back. Now, Jalen Carter, not a starter. We know he can wreck shop.
Right.
The big
Woo-wee,
thing,
man.
is with what they're going to be offensively. Kenny
Bright,
Dillingham,
sunshiny day,
who's
man.
the OC
Nice day outside
at
today.
Oregon. He's going to run a lot of tempo. He's going to do a lot of things that are going to
Nice
confuse
day
young
outside, but,
players. If those young linebackers
wonder when LSU players are going to speak.
out of position, they might get gashed on occasion, more than we're used to seeing. And when
When's
I
that
say
gonna
gashed, they
start?
give up like 17 points,
Are they going to
right?
speak
So
before Kelly? I don't know.
This is, I think, going to be a real test of acumen. How comfortable will they be playing with the expectations in front of the home crowd against a team that has athleticism and that is really ticked off and trying to represent and carry the banner for the Pac-12
There you
out on the West Coast?
Man, what's up with the
Well, the
OBS,
thing
man?
that I like is that Georgia's bringing about the best tight end in college
Let me
football.
turn all
Rock
this
Value.
shit off.
To have a winning quarterback in Stetson Bennett, who all he does is just win ball games despite of everybody else.
Turn my phone off the internet.
So,
Maybe that'll help the
similar to
OBS
football,
out.
2 and 3 tight ends.
Yeah, there's a lot of big money games in week 1.
Physical. Oregon on that side of football, and Oregon had to try and match the physicality and also the big playability. Will Bo Nix be comfortable
some,
enough to say, you know what, I'm in a different environment.
All right,
It's a
turn
great
my iPad off the internet. Turn my phone off the internet.
to prove
Sometimes that affects OBS, which is weird.
At the top of the SEC since day one. It's a lot of people to say out there to prove a lot of different things. And for Georgia, maybe not as much.
Yeah, so Georgia plays, but they play Oregon, Samford, at South Carolina, Kent State, at Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Florida, Tennessee, at Mississippi State, at Kentucky, and then Georgia Tech. Georgia has a pretty favorable schedule. They play Oregon week 1. That's a neutral site game. So Georgia's gonna go. They'll lose one game. I think they'll lose one game, maybe 2 tops.
Well, I think they just need
Georgia's gonna be good again.
cohesive versus where we were last year when they were almost near perfection. And you mentioned Bo Nix, and my mind is going. I'm thinking Bo Nix wasn't he beating Oregon a couple of years ago? He was a good player, a 3-time Heisman winner. But the thing I'm really intrigued by is Dan Lanning, though, Laura, because he to me is so impressive. But it's his first game, and a lot of coaches have a hard time figuring out which sideline to go to in the first game. I will make you a high thing.
Yeah, Oregon and Georgia, they play at September 3rd, which is a Saturday. They play at 3:30 Eastern on ABC. And I have to look up. Gonna have to maybe do that game. What games are week 1? Let's see what games are week 1.
Here's the one thing I would say about
So I know LSU plays Sunday.
Georgia's
So
further along in their development, further along in their culture establishment. They should win the game. They should win the game comfortably. However, they also carry the burden of expectations and pressure. And sometimes, like we saw
Oregon
last year,
plays Georgia
Oregon
at
went to
2:30.
Columbus, to Ohio State with really not a great quarterback situation. Not that Bo Nix is God's gift for football or anything, but not.
That's right. Notre Dame, Ohio State's later that night. Okay, that's okay.
And Oregon flat out punched them in the
I wanted to make sure
mouth.
that Notre Dame and Ohio State was not at the same time.
That's what everybody's saying.
That's
There's
good.
No pressure on Oregon. You can go out and play freely. And I think when you give a team with speed and athleticism,
Yeah, they got
the
some good
opportunity to
games
play
on that
free,
day.
They can definitely do
Then
some
week
damage.
2, I think that's when Alabama plays Texas, I believe. Yeah. Bama plays. I mean, they play Texas at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Wow, that's crazy. For week number 2, Alabama plays Texas, but it's at 11 o'clock. Well, 12 o'clock Eastern. That game should be at night. That game should be at night, but oh well.
But what Billy Napier does
Man.
this year, and I think that first game, as you talked about, Greg, off the top of the season, Florida fans are impatient. They want to see what he can bring, and I realize that it's a
Utah plays Florida week 1. Florida should win that game, man. I know Florida's been. They were down last year. They fired their coach, but Florida should win that game. It's at Florida. They definitely should win that game. Florida should not lose to Utah at all.
I like the chances. I like the matchup of the game. Utah has to go to a hostile environment first week of the season. You can't prepare for the.
I mean, if it was a neutral site game, maybe I'd think Utah maybe have an outside shot, but they're not beating Florida in Florida.
Anthony Richardson, the expectations and the weight on his shoulder are significant. That offensive line better play well.
That's not gonna happen,
One thing
so.
Utah can do, it can always do, is get after the opposing quarterbacks. You give quarterback with
Let me share this on my.
relentless pressure, which he's probably going to feel, that could definitely make things a little bit more difficult. So I think it's a really tough opener, but certainly one that they
On my,
can
what you call it?
really well.
Billy Napier.
I know Utah's a good team, but they got to go at. They got to go to Florida now. If it was a neutral site game, I would say okay, they might have a shot, but I don't think they're going to win at Florida. That's just my opinion, though. Just my opinion now. So about 20 minutes the commissioner plays. Yeah, because of Fox, I know. Yeah, it's because of Fox, the Fox bullshit. That's just stupid, man. I mean, that game should be at night. Oh well, though. Yeah, Kentucky beat LSU's ass last year. No, Kentucky kicked our ass. But it's because of Fox. Because Fox has the Big 12 contract, and they put their big games at noon. You know? So that's why Texas and Oklahoma. That's one of the reasons why they want to leave the Big 12 because they're tired of playing games at 11 o'clock in the morning. They're tired of that. So. Wait till USC. You know, when USC goes to the Big Ten, you know they're out there from the the left coast. So wait till USC plays Ohio State at 11 o'clock. You know, Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. Of course, that's not going to happen when they play in. Why am I frozen up? And OBS is just problems today, man. OBS being a pain this morning. It doesn't want to work. They gotta get the hamsters rolling. Guess I'll have to restart my computer before the home run derby tonight. I should have restarted my computer before the I started this, but oh well. What's up, Charles? It's I don't know. OBS is just weird. But yeah, I'll have to restart my computer before I do the home run derby tonight. Oh well. So yeah, so I wonder what Sankey's gonna say at about 20 minutes. He'll speak. So I have to put that on. I'll put the audio on. But right now, nothing much going on SEC Media Days. Starts at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and then the coaches don't. Brian Kelly's not going to speak till like 11:30, 11:45, I believe. So. Yeah. Will Anderson for Alabama. He we couldn't block him last year. Or LSU really, their offense couldn't block anybody really last year. Last 2 years, our defense has been horrible. But Will Anderson is one guy that we couldn't block at all last year.
Transferring to Kentucky, the last Wildcat to finish in the top 5 in Heisman voting was Tim Couch in 1998. Certainly, when you think about Will Levis, right?
So the SEC Media Days is in Atlanta. Maybe I should have gotten a credential to Media Days. No, I probably wouldn't have got that. Could you imagine me being? Could you imagine me being at media days, man?
In the NFL, everybody wants to find themselves a job.
What's up, Detroit fan?
Who doesn't? The quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, phenomenal. He's athletic. He's big. He looks the part. He's like built out of marble.
Tennessee averaged 39 points per game last year. Really?
Exactly.
Didn't realize that.
Just like Paul, just you name it.
Didn't realize Tennessee's offense was that good last year. Jeez.
There were moments in which you were like, wow. For instance, you put on the game against Louisville.
Yeah, Will Anderson's really good, man.
Just running over guys, lowering his shoulder.
Maybe the Saints will draft him next year.
You name it. You watch him against Tennessee, and it's like, look at him.
Maybe the Saints can. Well, the Saints are gonna have to have. The Saints are gonna have to have a bad year if they're gonna have to draft him because he's gonna go high in the draft next year. So the Saints probably won't have a chance to draft
At
him.
least early in that game too. So there were way too many inconsistent performances for me to have him up there as like one of the top quarterbacks in college football coming back.
Yeah, you get a lot of free food. Huh? Free food.
The ceiling is there. Now I just want to see.
But I would have to get a press pass.
Become a little bit more of a well-rounded player. So I'm bullish, but I'm also excited to see what kind of leaps he can make.
6 hours. Yeah, Atlanta's probably about an 8-9 hour drive for me.
I expect he's going to make.
I feel like I'm watching Jim Cramer.
It'd be
on
8-9 hours if I drove to Atlanta. So I would have to get a hotel room.
So I get it. I respect it, but the reason why he's flying up was because.
But not that far.
And quarterbacks are the most overrated, overhyped preseason position in all of football. Whether it's
Not that 8 hours ain't that far.
The NFL. So let's talk about it.
Will Levis returns for his senior season at Kentucky.
They look explosive in Kentucky for the first time since
Kentucky's no decent. I mean, they're decent, and now they win 8-9 games, which is for them. I mean, that's really good for them.
Everybody loves this, right? It looks great. But can we talk about the 13 interceptions that he had? A lot of the bad.
That's right. Chick-fil-A and Waffle House is huge in Atlanta.
Look, going to your senior year,
Yeah, Atlanta. I mean,
be like Matt Corral, where he
there's a Waffle House on every exit in Atlanta.
You know what? The one way I want to improve
Every exit is a Waffle House. And I'm not exaggerating either. Same with Chick-fil-A. Although there is a lot of Waffle Houses down south. But yeah, but Atlanta, I mean, they every exit Waffle House, Waffle House, Waffle House. Man, people like Waffle House that much? Yeah. So Kentucky plays Miami, Ohio, at Florida, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois, at Ole Miss, South Carolina, Mississippi State, at Tennessee, at Missouri, Vanderbilt, Georgia, Louisville. So Kentucky, at Florida, at Ole Miss, that's tough. At Tennessee, they play Georgia. Kentucky should win 1, 2, 3, 4, 8-4. Kentucky should go 8-4 for that schedule. I mean, at Florida's tough, at Ole Miss is tough, at Tennessee. That's tough road games. Georgia, they're probably not going to win that game. That's a really difficult schedule. It's tough. Never been to Waffle House is awesome when you're drunk. After going out or night of drinking, yeah, Waffle House is like, it's like eating filet mignon. Yeah.
So look over here first, Greg. So that's the one game I do believe Kentucky has a great chance of upsetting Georgia. With the run game, bringing both running backs back. Rodriguez.
That's a
my favorite name in the SEC. And you put that together with nice
But
play
if Kentucky goes 8-4 with that schedule, that's pretty good. The closest Waffle House is, to me, is 3 hours away out of state. Man, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do if a Waffle House was 3 hours from me. Yeah. Get the All-Star Special, then you get a waffle, you get either bacon or sausage or ham, then you get either grits or hash browns, eggs, toast. Man. That's the All-Star Special. That's good. It's like the Grand Slam at Denny's. And Vanderbilt averaged 15.8 points per game last year on offense. That is freaking horrible. You know, Vanderbilt was, I mean, they're never going to win the SEC. They're never going to threaten to win the SEC East, but I mean, they should threaten 6 games. They should threaten that 6 wins every year. I mean, if you play, 4 freebies out of non-con, there's 4 wins for them. Then they only got to win 2 SEC games. I mean, Vanderbilt's just, they're just. I mean, they shouldn't be that bad. I mean, they shouldn't be that bad. But winning 6 games, hell, James Franklin was winning 9 games at Vanderbilt. I mean, they won 9 games back-to-back years with James Franklin. So, they should be able to win 6 games a year. So, yeah, we don't get, they got blown up on an FCS team. That shouldn't happen. I mean, like I said, they're never going to threaten to win the SEC in football or win the SEC East, but they should win 5, 6, 7 games a year. All they got to do is schedule 4 freebies, and then all they do is win 2 SEC games. That's why some of these SEC schools don't want 9 games like in conference because of that. They want a chance to get the 6 wins to get to a bowl. If there's another conference game for Vanderbilt, South Carolina, that's gonna really affect their chances of getting to a bowl. So. East Tennessee State beat Vanderbilt 23-3. Yeah, that shouldn't happen. Not like that. I mean, that shouldn't. Vanderbilt should beat them. East Tennessee State. Vanderbilt should be able to recruit enough 3-stars to have enough talent to beat those guys. So, well, Vanderbilt, they were a charter member of the SEC. They stuck it out. I got to give it to them, man. They didn't duck tail and run like Georgia Tech and Tulane did in the 60s. Vanderbilt stuck it out. And now they're about to get $100 million every year once this new TV deal kicks in. Once Texas and Oklahoma come into the SEC, whenever that happens, 2025, 2024, whenever that happens, Vanderbilt's about to get a check for $100 million every year. I could run a lot of programs. So. Yeah, just imagine if Tulane and Georgia Tech stayed in the SEC. They're back in the 60s, and Tulane would be a lot different. Tulane would have been a lot different football program by now. So, yeah, at UConn, that's got to be a win. East Tennessee State has got to be a win. At Colorado State, they should win that game. Stanford, that's tough. Vanderbilt might not win that. Vanderbilt probably shouldn't win that game.
The SEC schedule certainly does an excellent job preparing teams for the college football playoff. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, SEC schools face 8 of the 10 toughest schedules in the nation.
So Auburn has the toughest schedule in the SEC. And who has the second? Mississippi State has the second. Vanderbilt has the third. Man. LSU has 10th, it said.
Who's going to win the West? I'm not sure it's going to take a genius to figure out who's going to be the immediate
Yeah, 2-2 would be pretty good for Vanderbilt that schedule, but I mean, at Colorado State, they should win that game in. Colorado State's what? They're like in the MAC, not the MAC, but they're in the the WAC or something like that. Why is OBS dying all of a sudden? OBS is starting to tick me off. Keeps going red.
And we're staying with Kentucky. We already alluded to this, but Georgia and Kentucky, remember 4 years ago, we were up there alarm and froze and
Week 12, Georgia at Kentucky. That could be an intriguing game depending upon how good Kentucky is at that point, because Georgia's going to be good in Week 12. I mean, Georgia's going to have a good team. But how good is Kentucky going to be?
And for me, it's the rivalry that's been building for a year and a half now. It all started with
Kentucky's going to eventually beat Georgia. Eventually. I don't know if it's going to be this year or not. Oh, yeah, Week 6, Texas A&M at Alabama. Yeah, Alabama might. They're gonna be pissed off for that game. Week 6. Who's LSU play Week 6?
I can't wait to see it. It's gonna be a great matchup with a whole bunch of star power behind it.
I think they play Tennessee that week. So Week 6.
Thursday later in the week. I wonder if they thought,
Wikipedia.
let's make sure these guys aren't on the same day. Oh yeah, they definitely thought that. Probably did expect them to be the ultimate.
Yeah, they play Tennessee that week.
Like they were in destiny.
LSU plays Tennessee that week when Bama plays A&M.
They're going to move on, but then there's October 8th when they actually face off again. What are your expectations for Texas A&M and Alabama?
Well, I think what you're going to hear this week is a more nuanced version of.
Yeah, Vanderbilt plays odd road games.
It was still fresh.
Right, because LSU wouldn't go play they wouldn't go play at Colorado State. Auburn would never go play at Colorado State. Neither would Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. They wouldn't do that. But Vanderbilt probably in a little different situation. But
A&M can hold up as part of the bargain and stay undefeated. I think they can. It will give hype. It will.
Texas A&M at Alabama Week 6 is going to be a very interesting football game because Nick Saban's going to be pissed off from losing last year. Plus, it's at Alabama, and plus all the talk between Saban and Jimbo in the offseason.
Alabama wins big in this game, running away with it. Alabama has a lot to play for. I think Texas A&M is a good team. I don't know how great they are. Look, we can all talk about and brag about all these 5 stars that Texas A&M just signed in this last recruiting class. But those 8 5-stars that they signed will not determine how many games they win.
And Roman Harper has had gray hair ever since he played for the Saints. I feel bad for the guy. He's had gray hair. Well, I had gray hair when I was 25, but ever since Roman Harper came to the Saints, he had gray hair.
Jimbo's in a situation where he said, I've already beat him. I beat him last year, so it almost fueled him to be able to speak about this.
Some guys just get gray hair early. Yeah, I had a little patch of gray hair when I was 25.
He feels like he's in a better spot. He can say, I've got young.
Wasn't much, but I was a little bit gray when I was 25.
He wants to be able to control the narrative of his own team.
I guess T.J. Finley is going to be the quarterback for Auburn this year. I guess, because didn't Bo Nix transfer out? So Auburn averaged 28.3 points per game last year, which is 68, man. Yeah, they should have remember those remember those little cartoons, Celebrity Death Match? They had, 15 years ago? Little cartoon, Celebrity Death Match. Yeah, they should bring that back. Yeah, Ed Reed has gray hair too. Some guys just get gray hair. They just get it young. I think Steve Martin got gray hair when he was really, really young, like in his early 20s. And he never dyed his hair. He just let it go. What channel is SEC Media Days on? SEC Network. SEC Network.
And that's what we need to see from them, because far too often in the last couple of years they've had a letdown performance or two that is.
Yeah, Roman Harper had gray hair, but hey, he embraced it. He didn't dye his hair. He didn't die. He embraced his gray hair and just said, "I'm gonna roll with it."
Okay, this room is filling up with the members of the media across the SEC as we are closer to hearing Greg Sankey speak on that podium behind us. These are the storytellers of our conference, and they will be asking the tough questions to the commissioner. We'll be right back from Atlanta here. Greg Sankey coming your way at 11:45 a.m.
Whew. Yeah, probably ESPN Plus too, right? It's probably on ESPN Plus. Why is OBS just freaking problems with it, man? I need to reset something. I need to reset OBS because it's like going in and out for some reason. Be right back. Hoping this fixes this shit. Hoping this fixes the OBS. But OBS has been problems today, man. Going red for some reason. Our router's like right here. Shouldn't be disconnecting. All right, so we're in the commercial break. I'm gonna get me some more water, so I'll be right back. Hopefully the OBS can not screw up. Right back. I'm back. All right.
Days last
All right, back.
Oklahoma and Texas were joining the SEC. That feels like old news. Let's hear from the commissioner now.
Hold on a sec. The commissioner's about to speak, so hold on.
Get ready for the 2022 football season.
Let me put this.
We'd like to get underway, and I would like to introduce the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference.
Let me know if y'all can hear the sound when the commissioner speaks.
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome to Atlanta. It's good to see everyone. I'm going to try to be efficient in my remarks. I'm reminded of the great American philosopher Vincent Spicoli, who once observed that you're here and I'm here, so it's really our time. And talk about that which is on my mind and try to save you some time as well. We should never take for granted that we're able to gather together after what we've experienced the last 2 years. We want to make sure this is a valuable time, and so we have staff and volunteers here to support your effort, and please reach out if they may be of assistance. It's good to be in Atlanta. It's a city of history for the Southeastern Conference. It was here in 1933 that the conference conducted its first annual meeting. So it wasn't annual at that point. It became annual. It's also the site of the conference's first ever men's basketball tournament. That also happening in 1933. It's happened here 12 times since, including one interrupted by a tornado. It's been the home of our football championship game since 1994. We moved media days, which doesn't happen a lot in conference.
Oh, damn it. Trying to freaking swipe something.
COVID hit, and it's great to be back here today. We're excited for the start of the season. You're going to hear that 14 more times from this podium, I expect, right? But part of the excitement being here is on September 3rd, Oregon and Georgia will play in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. As you look to the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl will host one of the college football playoff semifinals on December 31st. Looking back, when we wrapped up in Indianapolis, Georgia's football team won the third consecutive national championship in football by an SEC team. And just because it's fun
What's
to
up, sports critic?
LSU in 2019, Alabama in 2020, and Georgia in 2021, or at least those seasons. I thought that was great. That would be my talking point about how excited about the quality of competition. And then I was reminded that members of this conference from 2007
Doing good,
to
man. How you doing?
2010 had four
Doing
different
good.
teams win 4 consecutive national championships: LSU, Florida, Alabama, and Auburn. And if you look at the BCS CFP era and you add in Tennessee in 1998, we've had 6 different football programs earn national championships, which communicates the depth of our conference competitively. And I'll let you make the comparisons between us and our colleagues as it relates to national championship success in football. But as we watch the college football world change around us, we are absolutely proud of the competitive team and individual achievements earned through the Southeastern Conference, be that on the football field, the women's basketball court, baseball field. The World Championships in track and field showcase young people who've had an experience in this conference and every other one of our 21 championship sports. The reality, though, is that away from the games and the playing fields and the courts and the tracks and the courses, it's been quite a summer. Actually, quite a year for those of us who write about, those of you who write about, and those of us who work in college athletics. You go back to June of 2021. We had a Supreme Court decision in Alston versus the NCAA. The onset of name, image, and likeness really took place on July 1st through the onset of different state laws and an alteration of potential plans for NCAA governance in the aftermath of the Alston decision. Later in July, we, as a conference, issued membership invitations to the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas to join the Southeastern Conference effective July 1st, 2025. We saw creation of the NCAA's Constitution Committee. We watched more membership transition among conferences in Division I. The NCAA Transformation Committee was announced in December. We had another uptick in COVID, which introduced disruption and felt eerily similar to what we experienced through the 2021 year. We had, as you know, consideration of expansion to the college football playoff format that ultimately was not adopted under the current CFP governance structure. This spring, the NCAA announced the transition of its president, NCAA President Mark Emmert, and the commencement of a search to fill that role.
Hello, my listener.
And then on June 30, right after I got to my lake to relax, the announcement came that the Big Ten would expand its membership to include USC and UCLA, which created a busy few weeks for you and for me as we tried to separate truth from fiction. You tried to figure out what your competitors knew or didn't know and what they were reporting. Tried to figure out the different
SEC
agendas,
Media Days.
and you worked to post stories quickly.
The commissioner
So
speaking
for our
of
summer
the SEC.
vacation. So that brings us here to begin the talking season ahead of college football. And in
College football,
preparation
sports critic.
for my comments, I went back to my first Media Days remarks in 2015. I'd been to any number of those as a member of the SEC staff, but I started reading through each year's comments, and in 2015, again here in 2018, and a couple times since, I began not with Mr. Spicoli's quote, but with a reference to Bob Dylan's "The Times They Are A-Changing." And I've never lost sight of that reality. I'm not sure we all understand what is intended by those lyrics or conveyed by the phrases that the wheel's still in spin. But times are changing more rapidly than ever. And you saw some of that play out this spring. So at our Destin meetings, we started with a small meeting of our head football coaches. And I went in with a very clear focus on a message, probably not the message that you thought I would communicate, maybe not the message they thought they'd hear, but one that was clear and direct. As I walked into the room, I learned that someone had tweeted our head football coach seating chart. And the trending topic on Twitter became not the Destin spring meetings, but look at this football coach's seating chart. But as we refocus, here's what I told our coaches. It is never going to be the same, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is. We're dealing with complex problems that won't be solved by complaints, by accusations.
I have no idea, Detroit fan, if he's worried about that or not. He shouldn't be.
Offering simple solutions. What is needed now is collaboration, deep thinking about real-world solutions, and everyone participating in the conversation.
SEC
the outcome,
Network.
when I shared this in real time, was we had some of the most in-depth conversations with full participation through our spring meetings that I've ever experienced. And that includes not only our football coaches, but our women's basketball coaches, men's basketball coaches, our student-athlete leadership council representatives, our athletics directors, faculty representatives, senior women administrators, and ultimately our presidents and chancellors that week. Each group recognizes that it's never going to be the way that it was, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is. And in that conversation, we recognize that all too often, what sounds like an easy solution to these complexities fails to consider the impacts that those easy answers have on many other matters. And frankly, in college athletics, we're here because we've either pushed aside some of those conversations and decisions, or we've dealt with the easy solutions rather than the complexities that account for the full breadth of outcomes and consequences. But in this environment, I'm proud to say, in my view, and I think in the view of our entire membership, the Southeastern Conference is stronger now than at any other time in our history. We're poised to grow to 16 members on July 1st, 2025. This expansion keeps the SEC in contiguous states, which supports a reasonable geography among like-minded universities and keeps us confident that fan interest will continue to grow in our communities, in our region, in this country, and literally across the globe. There's no sense of urgency in our league. No panic in reaction to others' decisions. We know who we are. We are confident in our collective strength, and we are uniquely positioned to continue to provide remarkable experiences educationally and athletically, along with world-class support to student athletes. It is a compliment that people from all across the country and all across the globe want to be a part of the Southeastern Conference. We understand our fan base in our region. We have an outstanding relationship with our media partners, effective in the fall of 24, Disney, ABC, and ESPN, with a focus on how we continue to strengthen the SEC network. And I appreciate the talent, those of you behind cameras, those working in production that we never see, in directing and coordinating to make what we do this week the best TV of the summertime. As you know, when we go through this change, we are considering how to schedule. And so some of those decisions were made in Destin, but our football scheduling model is still under consideration. We had deep and productive conversations in Destin. Those conversations actually began back at our meetings in August. And when we concluded our discussion in Destin, we had a focus placed on a single division model with the ability to accommodate either an 8-game or 9-game conference schedule. And I'll wink and say we could even accommodate a 10-game conference schedule. I see all of you look up. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. So that's actually not our focus. We ended, though, with the understanding that more questions needed to be answered, including understanding the general timeline and the issues that need to be addressed as we think forward now about the college football playoff. We have to dig through a tie-breaking procedure. So we have over a quarter century in divisions, and we understand all the nuances about how to break ties. But we have to dig a bit deeper there with this single division concept in front of us. And we want to understand the impact through the use of analytics on bowl eligibility for our teams who are growing their programs and college football playoff access dependent on the number of teams that might be included. And so there are a range of possibilities being considered.
Go Tigers.
We have time to make a decision. And as you've seen before with us, particularly in the last few years as we dealt with some difficult issues, we're going to use that time to inform our decision making and not be subject to an arbitrary deadline. The national issues, though, go beyond the Southeastern Conference, beyond the college football playoff, beyond conference membership changes, and include important conversations about the future of the NCAA and its ability to be effective at leading
Cincinnati's
the overall
joining the
collegiate
Big 12,
athletics enterprise.
Central Florida,
And how we
BYU,
effectively
Houston.
support young people who choose on their own to engage in name, image, and likeness activity.
Not
Last
much,
July,
man. Just
on that list of
waiting for
issues
Brian
we've
Kelly to
seen
speak
over the
about
last
another
year,
hour.
the NCAA's Board of Governors issued a press release that
Well, not
included
that
these
long,
words, quoting, the
30,
Special
maybe 40
Constitutional
minutes.
Convention is intended to propose dramatic changes to the NCAA Constitution and to reimagine aspects of college sports so the association can more effectively meet the needs of current and future college athletes. And that same press release included statements like college sports must quickly adapt. This is not about tweaking the model we have. And we cannot go on as we are. At the end of that constitutional effort, what's really changed? You ask yourself that question. Did we need that effort to get at some of the Division I problems? I would submit not. But someone is correct in that statement that we cannot go on as we are. In October, the NCAA announced formation of the Division I Transformation Committee.
I'm not sure, Edward.
To serve on that committee with co-chair
I haven't found anything about that.
Individuals who have spent an enormous amount of time trying to sort through the difficult issues we have. The press release announcing creation of the Transformation Committee referenced the complexity of issues in Division I. That observation was spot on. There is a complexity of issues that doesn't lend itself to the easy button and not necessarily to immediate resolution. And so those issues include the need for a meaningful membership process, dealing with enforcement and infractions issues where college athletes
Sankey needs to hurry up his
face
speech.
uncertainty and penalties related to actions that may have taken place when they were in junior high or elementary school. We have a rule book that simply grows and grows and grows. We have a governance process that has key committees and councils populated by participants.
Yeah, that makes sense, Andrew.
Who rarely, if ever, speak, and who are being asked to make important national policy decisions when they may not have that same authority on their day-to-day work context on campus. We have a bureaucratic process that leaves issues languishing for months or for years. Again, it's correct. We can't go on as we are. We're making progress on those issues. In August, the Division I Board of Directors will receive a report which won't solve every problem, but will deal with issues around enhancing the student-athlete experience, modernizing the transfer rules, dealing with that rule book and trying to reduce it, and refining that infractions process with a focus on bringing matters to
I hope not. I hope he don't speak for 30 more minutes.
And then as we look at the fall, we're going to have some difficult issues around membership. That issue was not created by the 5 conferences labeled the Autonomy Conferences or by FBS. It was assigned to the Transformation Committee by the
I think they're in
Division I
Atlanta.
board.
Pretty sure they're
We're
in
going to have
Atlanta.
to determine how to make effective decisions in Division I. And there are incredible disparities around revenue, around expenses, around support, and around expectations in this division. It makes it difficult to ensure the presence of shared values and common purpose around supporting athletics programs. We also need to make sure we enhance the experience for student athletes at NCAA championships.
Yeah, it's in Atlanta.
What's happened before can never happen again. I don't expect that will be easy, but it's important and will play out through the fall months. I did not mention name, image, and likeness because that's been reserved by the Division I Board of Directors. And on May 9th, you saw a statement from the board that I think was helpful. The question is, what's happened as a result? We need clarity from the NCAA National Office on what's happening and what will happen under the NCAA Division I Board of Directors directive. It's a difficult issue, subject to the onset of state laws that came into effect last July. And since that time, some of those same states have pulled back from those laws because it's in the state's competitive interest to do so. It's exactly what we warned about.
Did they ever, like,
2019,
release, like, with
the
the
patchwork
with
of state laws
the
was
votes,
the
like,
most ineffective
for and
way
against the
to approach
expansion
name, image, and likeness. And here's
in the
our
Big Ten?
view. We need a clear,
Or did they release that?
enforceable standard to support national
Maybe not who
championship
voted yes or no, but
caliber
like the numbers.
competition and national championships themselves, like the College World Series, the Final Four, and the College Football Playoff National Championship, and every other national championship. So there is a connection and a common basis for competition. Our student athletes, we just had a Student Athlete Leadership Council meeting. They asked us for clarity and for uniformity and for institutional support of their name, image, and likeness efforts. A national standard would mean that high school juniors and seniors and their families don't have to sort through dozens of different state laws or institutional policies where state laws don't exist. It's an unfair way to treat young people making a college decision. And a common standard would allow them to have clarity around the rules and policies that govern their own decision-making and activity. Our football coaches were unanimous and unequivocal at our spring meetings when they discussed name, image, and likeness that booster activity should be completely removed from the recruiting aspect of their work. Our young people deserve consumer protection to ensure commitments they make do not create long-term entanglements and points of exploitation that reduce or eliminate their future earning potential. And lastly on this list for now, there's an absence of oversight for those described as agents. These aren't agents as we've come to know them over time, or NIL businesses that approach young people and families directly with offers with no transparency. That gap needs to be addressed, and the unregulated marketplace calls for action. The NCAA is limited in its ability to govern this space. To put state universities in conflict with their own state laws is an impossibility. And litigation limits the extent to which the NCAA can actually act. And that's why the continuing identification of Congress is the opportunity to set a national standard remains important. We did have conversations that if there's not a national standard, we need to explore if we can have common state laws among our 11 current states, eventually to be 12, to support healthy name, image, and likeness activities. Do we face headwinds in college sports? Absolutely. It's actually not new. It's a decades-old problem, and those decades-old problems now rest firmly on our agendas. The SEC will not be complacent, even with the knowledge that we're in a position of strength. Now's the opportunity and the time to continue to support our student athletes, and to the extent we can do more, we actually do more. We must take the step forward to make sure the experience that's present today is there tomorrow and for decades to come. One of the great things I'm able to do is visit with leaders of today, our presidents and chancellors, athletics directors, and other key campus leaders, and the leaders of tomorrow. Those
Yes,
are the young
Eastern
people
time.
on
I think
our teams.
Ogeron,
Which is
listen to
why,
me.
despite the difficulties, despite the
Somebody slapped me in
challenges,
the head.
knowing the
Brian
successes
Kelly's
that are
supposed to
present,
speak around like
I'm confident that
11:30
the best
Central,
days of the Southeastern
11:45
Conference
around that
still
time.
remain ahead. So with that,
Somebody
Kevin,
slap me in the
I'll
head,
turn it to
please.
you, and we can entertain some questions, and we'll see how I do with the answers.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Jack, Jake, and Preston, we will get a microphone. So we're going to start right over here in the middle. Ron, go ahead, Ron. Please give your name and affiliation.
Yes, Ron Higgins, Tiger Details. Greg, do you anticipate maybe Texas and Oklahoma coming in the league early ahead of time?
That's not up to me. That's about the relationship between Oklahoma, Texas, and the Big 12. We are focused on the addition being effective July 1st, 2025.
Okay, we're going to go down here to our right, second row.
Richard Johnson, Sports Illustrated. Greg, with what's happened in the country the last few months, in addition to it being an election year, do you think that that makes it even more difficult for Congress to do something to make a clear, enforceable NIL policy?
Go back, Richard, to March, and I made a list in a meeting of matters present. A war in Ukraine, the economy, Build Back Better that was introduced and not moved, and the differences that exist in Congress. And we have a midterm election coming up, and things that have happened over recent weeks and months have just added to that. The reality was, when I had that conversation in March, I wasn't looking to necessarily this Congress to be the solution, just because of the timing. We've had conversations with leaders from both sides of the aisles, and we'll continue to do so, because regardless of what's happened recently or what happens with the election, we need a bipartisan solution for this national concept to move forward. And if we don't, then we're going to be left not simply creating conference rules. We're going to have to deal with state laws that vary in our region, and that was actually part of our conversation in Destin as well. But the focus will remain on a national solution, and Congress is the venue for that option.
Okay, we're going to go right over here on the left, about 4 rows back.
Greg, John Sokoloff at WCBI TV in Columbus. You mentioned one of the bigger issues with that single division model was the tiebreakers and figuring out that stuff. What are some of the other issues when y'all think about finalizing that single division format?
John, you didn't even have to introduce yourself, because I was in Omaha and heard you ask a question in those press conferences leading up to the Ole Miss National Championship.
Yeah, the SEC should go to a single.
The list of issues, so
They should go to the
tiebreakers
divisions.
one, the number of games and what that means from a scheduling standpoint, the imbalance around 9 games versus the comfort with 8 games. What happens with non-conference schedules, and we have a requirement that 9th game right now be among an Autonomy 5 type opponent. How do we dispose of or maintain that particular policy?
Will Anderson's a really good player.
The impact on bowl eligibility and college football playoff access, I mentioned. When I go through 6 different teams having won national championships in the last 25 years or so, no one comes close to that number. So the level of competition here, while people want to be a part of it, we're attentive and sensitive to that. Just to be clear, nobody from TV is saying do this or do that. This is a conversation and a decision to be made among our conference membership.
Okay, we're going to stay in the same section, 3rd row back. Kirk.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Greg, do you sense a lot of support for a model with 3 permanent rivals, or anywhere close to a consensus on that? And is there any interest in expanding beyond 16 teams right now?
The first question is, that's under consideration, Kirk, and there are limits on the number of options available for 3 permanent opponents based upon the number of games. 9 makes that more practical. If you remember, I had 2 points when we expanded that I wanted to be front and center. One is that we engage in blue sky thinking, just let's look at the big picture. And the second is we rotate our teams through campus as frequently as possible, so we don't go 12 years between visits. And so
they need to fix that problem about
guided us. That last one
playing one team every freaking 6-7 years.
Stupid. How many times you can move people through cleanly, and that's exactly the point of
That's got to be
conversation.
fixed.
Embedded in my remarks is we're attentive, we're engaged in conversation. The great news for the Southeastern Conference is that people call and say, hey, you're doing something really special, and they kind of hint around the edges. As I went through, we know who we are. We're confident in our success. We're really looking forward to the expansion and being at 16 teams, and don't feel pressure to just operate at a number. But we'll watch what happens.
And now the SEC is adding 2 more teams in the league, so they're going to have to go to 9 games.
Commissioner, we'll go to our right, second row. Charles Odom with the Associated Press here in Atlanta. Following up on what you just said, you said you don't have a sense of urgency or panic in reaction to what others are doing, but in looking at what others are doing, does it affect your receptiveness to those calls that you say you're receiving from others? Do you see this heading toward a conglomeration of super leagues, and do you have to be proactive to be at the front of that?
Well, somebody will write that I was a smart aleck guy. We are a super league. I mean, when I walk through the recitation, this is a super league. So as I visited,
if everybody plays each other every 2-3 years, then that would be ideal.
June 30. I did not gather that group until the next Wednesday.
The crap the way it is now is like every 6 years you play teams. It's stupid, man.
But also, I didn't want a story like on Friday, the day after, the SEC presidents are gathering, and then you have this ripple effect of they're going to do something. And so we wanted to be patient and wanted to communicate. Again, we're comfortable at 16. There's no sense of urgency, no sense of panic. We're not just shooting for a number of affiliations that make us better. Could they be out there? I would never say they're not. I would never say that we will. We're going to be evaluating the landscape. I'm not going to speculate. And I actually am watching a lot of this activity operating around us, more so than impacting us directly.
Okay, we're going to go right back down here in front, third row.
Hey, Greg, how you doing? Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. This is kind of a multi-part question. I was curious, what
I'm sure they'll
was it?
bring up the accent
at
some point.
Did you get to take any vacation? Did you have any inkling what the Big Ten was doing? And do you think Texas and OU trump USC and UCLA when it comes to adding teams to a conference?
I'll start at the end. Yes. I'm not sure we want to use the word trumped all the time these days, but be careful about that. We're in contiguous states. It's a southeast quadrant. I do have a few letters about what southeast mean, but we are in the southeast quadrant of the United States.
Opponents, right.
Those 2 additions actually restore rivalries. The Texas-Arkansas game last year was pretty special, but that goes back a long way. Obviously, Texas and Texas A&M rivalry will be like our in-state rivalries across the league. You have Missouri and Oklahoma that are a quarter of the Big 8 that are now part of the Southeastern Conference, and the opportunity for Arkansas and Oklahoma to play regularly. I think that's right. That's who we are. Those fan bases get it. One of the very first calls I had, it's like, hey, we watch how you've made decisions in the Southeastern Conference and how you want to achieve as universities and athletically, and we want to be a part of that. Absolutely, that's right. Did I have an inkling? I'll be honest with you that about 18 months ago, I said, here's some projections of what could happen, and those 2 schools were part of it nationally, but I didn't know that this was about to happen on June 30. No, not at all. As I look and try to project what takes place and guess, that type of movement was somewhere in my thinking, but not at that moment. And it's where I grew up in Skaneateles, New York. Skaneateles. So I've lived in 2 places that are tough to spell: Skaneateles, New York, and Natchitoches, Louisiana. You have to get Natchitoches on your own.
I'll stay in the same section to row back.
Hey there, Greg. This is Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal.
Where are we at, Lane?
Right here. I wanted to ask you about how your thoughts on access to a college football playoff might be evolving, because I know, before this latest wave of realignment with USC and UCLA moving, you had been very adamant on an 18 model with 5 automatic bids. And
No. I'm going to come back to that, but
okay.
I've been against that.
against that.
Not supportive of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry.
You had strong opinions about it.
Herb's going to get on me for interrupting you, so I apologize.
That's okay. But I'm curious how your views of what a potential model win the playoff would expand might look like, given that we are in this current state of flux where maybe the conferences are changing and, maybe automatic bids might not be given equal weight given where conferences are heading.
Yeah, just to be clear, and I apologize for my rudeness there, but that one, somebody's live tweeting, and I'll be credited with that thought. I walked into one of the first meetings when we were looking at the format and said, if we want to expand to 8 teams for the playoff with no automatic bids, I'll have that conversation. But moving to an 8-team playoff and granting what we're going to be 6 automatic bids and reducing at-large access is unwise. And in fact, if you look, I think 2014, you would have replaced the 8th best team in the country with the 20th best team in the country. I don't think we could survive that from a credibility standpoint. But the pressure was there to have conference access with some guarantee. And so the 12-team, 6 at-large, which increases the at-large access, and 6 conference qualifiers, not automatic qualifiers, but the guarantee that the 6 best conference champions was a really good balancing outcome. But things have changed. And I was clear back in January when we walked away from the conversation that we as a conference weren't unanimous in our support. I had, as commissioner, moved people forward to the point we were supportive as a league. And if we're going to go back to square one, then we're going to take a step back from the model introduced and rethink the approach. Number of teams, whether there should be any guarantee for conference champions at all. Just earn your way in. There's something that's healthy competitively about that and creates expectations and support around programs. Where we go, we'll see. We've had one initial conversation in late June. I
He's to wrap this up, man.
Meeting not very optimistic about the ability to talk through issues, and I walked out much more positive about the path forward than when I walked in. And there's a lot of work to do. We have time and we'll use it. And it's the same type of issues that you've heard, AQ or no AQ, how many teams, what's the relationship to the bowls, when do we play these games on a calendar. We really need to look at that more deeply than we did in the previous iteration. So we'll see how it goes. But those are the realities. But I'd be fine with no AQs, whether it's 4 like we have now. It's a model that's worked. 8, 12, but the inclusion of conference champion access was I thought an effective compromise at a 12-team playoff.
We have time for a few more. We're going to start right here on the front row on the right.
8 games sound reasonable.
I'm just curious about the NIL. I know we were talking about Super Conference. Can you talk about how that has helped us acquire the title of Super Conference and how you see that progressing in the SEC?
I think we, the Southeastern Conference, were a super conference before name, image, and likeness. In fact, I provided that clever answer a few times over the last 7 or 8 years. There are any number of good stories. I was up the road here an hour in Athens, Georgia, when Auburn gymnastics competed and Suni Lee was cheered by everyone in Stegman Coliseum. You don't get that much between rivals when they're cheering for an individual student athlete. I'll state, Karis Jackson talked about a Bojangles deal when he was in Destin with our leadership group, talking about, I think it was 45 steps to making a Bojangles biscuit that he engaged in on social media. Olivia Dunn at LSU is one of the good stories, very prepared, very ready for that. Those are the activities that we thought would be present and should be present, allow young people to build the brands. And I think there are many more stories beyond just what you read in recruiting that are positive. But one of the concerns up front was that we not do this state by state. We need uniformity. That feeds in to our ability to have national competition during the regular season and support
Coca-Cola would say
championships. And so the notion of some oversight, transparency, regulation of the market, I think is exactly what helps everyone. And I'm convinced, regulated or unregulated, we can do well, but I think the unregulated market creates a set of problems for the people involved, whether it's young people and their families trying to make decisions, the potential for long-term life entanglements and deals that aren't understood and evaluated, the lack of support, the taxation that comes. But we've also allowed it to enter into the recruiting space in a really weird way, and I think that needs to be made healthier than it is right now.
Okay, we'll go back over here to the right in the middle.
Hi, Greg. Michael Giddens, The War Report.
That's right.
Given some of the
You gotta
public
drink it.
comments from coaches about the effect of NIL on
In
recruiting
the way you can see the
classes,
logo.
is there a feeling from the conference office that member institutions are abiding by the spirit of NIL rules? And how's the conference office supporting educating athletic departments on best practices when it comes to NIL?
The issue is, are they abiding by their state laws? So whether it's spirit or not spirit, the issue that goes back when we're in consultation is, are you following the laws of your state, or in the past, one circumstance, an executive order in our footprint. It is uncomfortable. It is a new dynamic, and we're going to have to manage through that discomfort. I don't believe everything I read. You're great writers. You're great at what you do. But I don't believe everything I read has the depth of information or the depth of analysis, because what I've not read is the points of concern where young people have lost opportunities or promises and commitments haven't been fulfilled. I look forward to reading those types of analyses. But the focus from the conference office is on providing guidance back to the states that have to provide the information. And we provide educational information. It's tough when that changes routinely through states. And in our footprint, there are 11 different state laws. And then you have questions coming in about the laws or lack of laws in effect in every other state as well.
Okay, we'll take one final question over to our left. Second row.
Hey, Greg, Ben Portnoy from the State Newspaper.
One more
Destin,
question.
you had
Good.
mentioned that there was at least a hope to get the scheduling model resolved by the end of the year. Is that still kind of a realistic timeline? And you'd also mentioned that Texas and Oklahoma had been involved in those discussions when it comes to realignment as well. I guess how much are they able to be involved in those discussions as well from conference level?
Last of all, we invited both the athletics directors and the presidents and chancellors into our conference call a week and a half ago, just so, because this is a long-term issue that has impacts beyond just the here and now, so that they could hear my analysis and ask any questions of us and hear questions asked by our other campus leaders. When we moved into August last year, we had an athletics directors meeting that happens each August. We actually invited both to attend so that we could set this by video, so Zoom, since we're really good at Zooming now, so they could hear the introduction of how we're going to consider information around scheduling. And when we've had important
Joe Burrow
updates or
in
important
person.
conversations, they've been a part of that. We did not invite either university to Destin this year. It just becomes its own story and distraction. And you may recall we had enough storylines heading into Destin already. So we provided actually updates to them through the week, and they've been great emerging partners in this process, talking about their interests and priorities, just as our other 14 do.
Commissioner, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for being here. And,
All right,
look
finally
forward
over
to the
with.
interaction that we'll have in the coming days, and
He
I'll
finally
see you back here.
finished
in just a
speaking. Jeez.
Commissioner Greg Sankey with some interesting
Yeah, so Sankey almost
fascinating
spoke for an
answers.
hour.
On the other side of this commercial break, we'll talk
Damn. Jeez. Thank God that's over with. All right, so hopefully, Brian Kelly's supposed to speak in about 20 minutes, supposedly. So we'll see. We'll see if he, hopefully he speaks soon. Man. That was a little, man. Oh, wow. That's what it is on that note. But, at least that's over with. So, be right back. Be right back. Jeez. All right.
Was being orchestrated by Fox
All right.
to take in UCLA and USC.
All right, so we got Brian
he-
Kelly
he
should be
asked
speaking
the
next,
SEC
what,
and Texas
10,
clubs,
15 minutes,
Big Ten and
hopefully.
USC and UCLA. It's a
Hopefully.
battle between the SEC and the Big Ten. And his quote was, "Yes, but I'm not sure I want to use the word Trump these days."
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that there and let you take it away, Greg. When you think about the conference expansion element,
Man.
he did clarify that Texas and OU still slated to join July 1st of 2025. What stuck out?
One, I think that's where they're at right now. Is that where we inevitably end up? I have no idea.
Right.
I can't tell
Man,
you if they arrive
yeah,
early.
Texas and
I can't tell you
Oklahoma
if penalty for leaving the Big
are-
12 early or prematurely
I mean,
would be worth, the
they
amount
can
of
leave
money
before
they might get
2025,
early.
but
My biggest takeaway was
they
college
probably
football
will, but
discussion, because constantly we've been speculating
that's just when
and
the
wondering for a
their
while now,
contract
what
renews,
does
whatever.
college football playoff expansion
TV
look like?
contract.
Well, what he
So
basically said is that there
that's
were
why they
things
keep
put
tying in
in
that,
the last proposal
keep saying
that were
2025.
concessions,
What-
like the automatic qualifier debate, which is, as we know, has been a hot topic of discussion. Those were in there just to appease the alliance, if you will. Well, now that the alliance is no more, he's basically saying no automatic qualifiers. We don't need to expand. We have super teams, and we're going to get the benefit of the doubt. So I think that was very interesting as far as where those discussions might go in the future.
We will continue to discuss what Greg Sankey said throughout the day. We got to say bye to Paul Feinbaum because he's a busy man. More of Paul coming up, including his show later on this afternoon. So tune in for that on SEC Network and keep it right here as Brian Kelly, the LSU new head coach, is walking into the room right now.
All right, so Brian Kelly is walking into the room. So maybe when we get back from commercial break, Brian Kelly will be speaking. Maybe we'll see.
Tonight,
We'll see.
we landed enough wind and
So hopefully they get we can get him speaking. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, like somebody said earlier, I'm sure coach will speak first and then he'll introduce the players. That makes more sense than the players speaking before the coach. So yeah. So all right, man. So should be much longer, man. We'll have the new coach. The coach will be on speaking. All right, man. I'm ready, man. Ready for football season to start, and yeah. So we got. Hopefully we get some. We had like 50 people watching earlier. Hopefully, if you came in here, if you're coming in here, make sure you ring the notification bell and give the video a thumbs up, because likes do help out the stream. So. So, and why is? Hold on, I'm gonna be back 1 second. I gotta fix something real quick with OBS again before Brian Kelly speaks.
Let's go through head coaches under the most pressure because he's certainly under a lot. Greg, we start with you.
Mine's going to surprise a lot of folks, and it's because of the expectations that are centering around the team right now. It'd be easy.
Hooray! What's going on, True Man? Alright, so, where's my chat at? Chat's going off OBS again. Reload that. There it goes, now it's back. So Brian Kelly should be speaking soon. Should be not very long. Whenever he speaks, I'll turn the sound up whenever he gets to the podium. Whenever he gets to the podium, I'll put the sound up.
Yeah, Jordan, to your point, Brian Kelly brings quite the resume to Baton Rouge. He's one of 3 active FBS coaches.
Give me Alonzo. Give me the Mets guy, the one that last 2 years. But we'll see.
In his final 2 seasons at Grand Valley State before making the jump to the FBS. And as
Just waiting for him to come to the podium. Look, there he is.
All right, good afternoon. It's good to be back without a long presentation from me. First coach to introduce is the head coach of the LSU Tigers, Brian Kelly, who is a 3-time National Coach of the Year, 2009, 12, and 18. He led Notre Dame to the BCS championship game in 2020 FP semifinals. A little side note for me, I had to take dancing lessons yesterday. My younger daughter's getting married. My dances are not on video. Brian, though, has had his dancing ability on video. When he was asked about it, he said, when a 5-star quarterback asks you to dance, you dance. And when your youngest daughter asks you to dance for a wedding, you take dancing lessons, in my case. This is Coach Kelly's first appearance at a conference media event since 2009. Off the field, he and his wife, Pocky, she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor, have a foundation named Kelly Cares that's donated nearly $6 million to over 190 causes around the globe. Please welcome LSU Tigers head coach Brian Kelly.
Good afternoon. Certainly a pleasure for me to be here at my first, as Greg mentioned, my first media day since 2009. I think for me, it kind of signifies college football is back. We can now point our attention towards that. And for me, all of my attention is focused on our LSU football team. It's been quite an interesting 6-7 months as I embarked on this journey, which has been exciting for me. It started with, the right time at the right place. The timing was right for me. The place was perfect. We had an incredible president, President Tate, an athletic director that I had history with Scott Woodward, and a rich history and tradition with LSU football. And so for me, it was then taking on that great opportunity in front of me to be part of restoring championship quality football to LSU. Also, the chance to be part of this incredible conference, the SEC. The challenges that come with that. Playing the great schools. I've never been in many of the venues. I'll get an opportunity to play at Auburn this year. I'll get a chance to play at Kyle Field in the Swamp. Those will be exciting opportunities, something that I've never experienced in my career of 32 years. So the challenges of being in the greatest conference in college football, as well as being at LSU, is I've been asked many times why, and I can tell you that certainly that shared vision of our administration, the great opportunity to restore championship level football to LSU, and then the SEC itself, and being part of this great conference. For me, it's been, as I mentioned, an opportunity to put a roster together in a very short period of time, creatively, We've had to use the transfer portal. We've recruited. We've spent a lot of time in player development, and we will then give everybody an opportunity to say, what do we look like here on a Sunday night against Florida State? And we're excited about that opportunity. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Coach Kelly. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Jack, Jake, and Preston will get a microphone to you. And again, please give your name and affiliation. We're going to start right here in front of us, Coach, about 5 rows back. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Colin Wilson with the Action Network. So when you took over...
Oh, hey, there you are. Thank you.
When you took over Notre Dame in 2010, you had a new quarterback with Jimmy Claus, a new offensive line, and Notre Dame had some struggles out of the gate in September. Is there anything we can learn from that experience for LSU to be undefeated with Mississippi State, Florida State right out of the gate?
Well, now that you put it that way, I hope not. Certainly we have 4 quarterbacks. And the spring really was for us to lay down our offense. We weren't really going to gear it towards any particular skill set. So I think I feel much better about the depth in the quarterback situation. Dane was really the only quarterback that had any experience. We were young and inexperienced at that position. I think the depth at the quarterback position is much different. Jaden and certainly Miles bring us obviously starting experience. Garrett, obviously, for me, is an exciting quarterback. Walker's a true freshman, but there's great depth there. The offensive line is clearly an area that we need to keep our eye on. But I think we've added some really good transfers, and we think we've got some young men that have developed. So I would say that right now I stand in front of you that those similar situations, I like the depth and the opportunity to be much better than 2010.
Coach, we're going to go down in front of us here on the front row. Ron?
Yeah, Ron Higgins, Tiger Details. It's been kind of documented, but the LSU, or the collective of NIL of LSU, doesn't have as much funds as other schools. How do you overcome that? And have you run into a situation yet where maybe you were outbid for a player? And how do you overcome that?
First of all, I don't know that we don't have as many funds. Nobody has given me, any kind of documentation that we're behind. I feel very comfortable, quite honestly, as I stand here, talking to you, that, what we're doing relative to NIL is as competitive as anybody else. I don't feel like we're being outbid by anybody. I don't think that's the place of NIL anyway. So if we were being outbid, then we're going to be outbid if we have $50 million in our collective. So I don't feel hamstrung by that. I want to continue to educate with NIL. I want to be able to use the resources wisely to help promote.
They got a 5% chance to win the SEC West, which is second best.
Athletes,
when
the time comes.
Coach, we're going to stay here in front of me, 3 rows back.
Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama coach. So much of coaching is teaching and then earning the trust of your players. How has it been with Miles Brennan, Keyshawn Butte, John Emery, those guys that maybe they're going to be the key parts of your offense? How have you earned their trust so far?
Well, I think trust is a two-way street. They're earning my trust too. I think it works both ways. First of all, trust is about saying something and backing it up, and then I think continuing that relationship. We're working on that relationship every day through deeds, through things that we put in front of them and say that we're going to do for them, and backing it up, and then asking them to do some things for us and seeing that they back it up. I think in all 3 of those cases, we're building trust. As you know, Keyshawn was just awarded number 7, which we consider, a a program number that highlights the very best player, in particular from the state of Louisiana. And that has to happen when trust has been formed. Miles has been one of our best leaders in our program. John Emery's done an incredible job of bringing himself back into our program. So I think you brought up three guys that have earned a lot of trust, and we're trusting them.
Coach, we're going to stay right in front of him in the second row. Tom.
Hey, Coach Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I wanted to ask you about your secondary, what you feel about the talent level there, and the two transfers from Arkansas, Fouché and Brooks, how you feel like they might fit in.
Well, let me address Fouché and Brooks. They have been outstanding additions to our program. I know many don't like to see that happen within the league, and I'm not crazy about it either. But these are two Louisiana kids that wanted to play at LSU, and they have been great additions. Character, I would say that, when we were looking into the transfer portal, we wanted young men that had SEC experience and had ties to the state of Louisiana, and Brooks and Fouché fit that to the T. And I think the secondary has a number of players that I think went out and recruited either through the portal or that were in the program that give us great depth, but they're going to have to go out and prove it. And I think that's an area that is going to have to come together for us, but we think we have depth and we think we have some talent there.
Coach, we're going to stay on my side, 3 rows back. Kurt.
Kurt Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. Coach, I wonder why you feel like you're a great fit for LSU since you haven't been in the South that much. And corollary question is that what do you think of Texas and Oklahoma joining an already great conference?
Well, I think fit is about, the ability to run a program, at the highest level. I've done it for 32 years. I've had success at Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Central Michigan, wherever I've been. So, running a program and then, developing players, player development. I think those are the most important thing. And I don't think that needs to be, geographical in a sense. I've gotten to love where I'm at in Baton Rouge. I love the people. They love football. They love family. And they love food. And that fits me really well. So I guess I should have been in the South all along. I love the fact that Oklahoma and Texas, 2 great programs, are coming into the SEC. And, that speaks to Coach Sankey and understanding, the lay of the land and being proactive and having 2 great institutions coming into the SEC. We'll be excited about when they officially join to have them on the schedule as well.
Coach, we're going to go over to your side, second row, Glenn.
Hey, Glenn Gilbo at Outkick.com. Having been at Notre Dame for quite a while, would you be surprised if they joined a conference, or do you think they'll stay independent, and just what do you think of their philosophies toward them?
It's probably not been high on my list of things to think about. I've been trying to correct a slice for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't had much success with that, so I'm going to go back to my day job. But I would say that, certainly Notre Dame still is, a coveted, university in terms of, what conference would want them. Jack Swarbrick knows what he's doing. He's got his ear to the ground. They're going to land into a good position no matter what they do, whether they stay independent or whether they go into the, one of the other conferences. Notre Dame can carry itself pretty good.
Coach, we're going to go right here on this near aisle in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back. Go ahead.
John Bednarowski from the Marietta Daily Journal. Coach, B.J. Ojulari is one of our kids.
Yes, he is.
Was hoping to get your thoughts on your initial impressions of him and what you expect out of him this year.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've gotten to know him as much more as a person than a player. Saw him a little bit in spring. He's a good player, too, by the way. But as a person, he's what you want to represent your program, and that's why, he's represented us, as our student athlete representative in the NCAA forums. He represented us in our student, interactions on campus. He represents us here today because his traits are outstanding. His character, how he handles himself in the classroom. He's a leader, and I couldn't say more about the integrity and character that he has, and I couldn't look. We're going to talk about his ability to rush the passer and his prominence there, but I could talk more about the person than the player today, because that's who I've been associating myself with more on a day-to-day basis.
Coach, we're going to go all the way back on the left-hand side. There you go.
Yes, sir. Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel. Notre Dame played Florida State 3 of the last 4 seasons, I believe. Where have you seen growth in that program from the team from 18 you faced, and then the last 2 under Mike Norvell?
Yeah, I think probably more than anything else, the fight in that team. I thought they fought for 4 quarters against Notre Dame last year. That was a team that obviously played to overtime. They were down late, came back. That has a lot to do with buy-in. You could see them playing harder and harder. Maybe that wasn't as visible earlier on. So this is a team now that has Mike's stamp on it. It's going to play hard for 4 quarters. You can see the development of younger players coming along, especially on the offensive line. Defensively, there's a structure there that is sound and fundamental. So I really just think you're just seeing the signs of a football program inside out, making the incremental progress that everybody wants to see more wins. But as a football coach, my eyes see a program that's been getting better and better.
Coach, we'll go back over to our right, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Brian. Matt Baker with the Tampa Bay Times. I wanted to follow up on that. What are your thoughts on facing Florida State in the opener? And how much of your notes from at Notre Dame kind of carry over, given that you're in a new position?
Yeah, a lot of them carry over. I mean, obviously we evaluate. They lost some really good players. Defensively, obviously, one of the better defensive players in the country. But certainly, we're relying on a lot of that film. And certainly player evaluations, I know a lot about, what they want to do offensively, though they lost their offensive coordinator. There's a lot of familiar, notes that we can go back to. But, we've got a new team. We've got new players. It's an opener. You kind of, you throw a lot of that stuff out because everybody's going to be playing at their highest level in their opener.
Hey, Coach, we're going to go on the near left aisle, straight down the middle. Here we go.
Hey, Coach. Chris Morler, Saturday Down South. Most important question of the day. In your best Southern accent, what's the favorite or best food you've had since you moved to Louisiana?
Well, understand now, I have a Boston, Midwestern, Louisiana accent now. So, it's 3 dialects into 1. So it's no longer family. I got like all kinds of stuff to throw at you. So just be ready. The best, it's probably the crawfish etouffee is I mean, I don't know how you top that. Now, I would say also the grilled oysters.
Ooh.
If you haven't had grilled oysters, try that. That'll get your cholesterol level up really high quickly.
Charbroiled oysters. There you go, Brian Kelly.
That's pretty good too.
Coach will go over here to our right, alongside the wall. Right here.
He likes the charred oysters
Coach Mitchell
too.
Summers with Fox Carolina. The SEC has really turned into the club that everyone's trying to get into, it seems. So, from your perspective, as someone that's on the inside, seeing all these other teams that are trying to get on the inside, can you describe what that's like?
Musical
They're asking
chairs,
idiotic questions like his accent.
and then the music's going to stop here, and you're not going to have a place at the table. And I think that's scary for a lot of universities, and it's left a lot of internal conversations about where do we go, and so I understand that, right? There was the question about Notre Dame. What do they do, right? Maybe they're better positioned than some, but yeah, it's musical chairs, and there's not enough chairs for everybody. So, and that's the current state of college football.
Coach, we'll go in this middle section about 3/4 away in front of me, right there.
Hey, Brian. Jacob Goins from ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. Looking at the schedule down the stretch, a lot of tough road games in the SEC, at Auburn, at Florida, Arkansas. How does that, what's your mindset going into those road games in the SEC this season and in future seasons coming from Notre Dame down to the SEC?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it's how you train your team. I mean, look, you have to be ready for a battle through December, right? Conference championship is in December. So if you're training your team just to get to the first week, you're never going to make it to December. So I think you have to have the end in mind first. And the end in mind first is December. And planning for those kinds of games in October and in November. And so I think you have to be very intentional about how you train your team, how you practice. All of those things matter because you're going to be playing big games in October and November. And look, you want them to be big games too. So let's be clear, right? What you do in September matters because, October is important, or you don't matter in November.
Yeah, that's a question that they come up with. What's your favorite food?
In the fashion of training your team the right way and getting them there is absolutely crucial.
Coach, we'll go over here in our right, middle section.
Coach Michael Giddens with the War Report Auburn. How do you assess the physical readiness of this team to do what you're planning to implement this season? Are they physically ready from a strength and conditioning standpoint? And then as far as your quarterback situation, what are you guys looking at there? Miles Brennan, is looks ready to go. You got Jaden Daniels. How's the quarterback situation looking this spring?
Yeah, I think our numbers look pretty good. Our GPS numbers show a fitness that will have us prepared for Florida State. We trained outside all summer. We have 2 more days this week, and then we're off. We finish up our summer program with 2 more days of training this week, today counting. So, yeah, we're healthy. I think our kids would tell you they feel as good as they've ever felt. Our numbers look really good across the board. And then as it relates to the quarterbacks, it's kind of similar to what I said to you, but to a number that have asked about the quarterback situation, is that we're really going to have to set the offensive structure in its installation to the skill set of the particular players. Because number one, they got to take care of the football. Number two, they got to get the ball to playmakers. I've got playmakers on offense that are already in place. So they've got to get the ball to the playmakers. And number three, they've got to make plays, that quarterback. So the ultimate decision-making on who that quarterback is, he'll have to hit those 3 notes. And I think all of those guys can do that. We'll have to put them in that position so we can evaluate that.
Okay, Coach, we're going to go back over here on the left-hand side alongside the wall.
How you doing, Coach? Scotty from All Script. I spoke with former alum Ryan Clark, and he's very adamant about the talent on the state of the Louisiana. With your national recruit, how do you balance locking down the Louisiana with the great players and balancing with other states that you've recruited out of Notre Dame?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, making sure that you evaluate the entire state of Louisiana. And I think that means, make sure you extend yourself. It's not just New Orleans and the greater Baton Rouge area. You got to get up north. You got to get all the way up through Freeport. You got to get up to Monroe. You got to get up all into the state of Louisiana. Now, that doesn't mean you just take a kid from Louisiana because he's from Louisiana. If he's not rated as high, then can you go out of state? Sure. But you better know the players in the state of Louisiana. And that means the entire state. And I think that that's maybe where, if I've gotten any feedback, that maybe we needed to extend our recruiting efforts a little bit further north. And I think we've done that.
Coach, we're going to go right in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back, right here in the teal shirt.
Brian, over here. JosephGoodmanAO.com. How much did the lopsided losses to Alabama play into the fact that you wanted to go leave Notre Dame for LSU?
That wasn't part of my decision making. Those were really good teams. They both won the national championship. I thought we played Alabama better than anybody in that last playoff. Their talent, was unbelievable on the offensive side of the ball that year. So that wasn't like, well, I'm taking the LSU job. Alabama was so much better than us. That was not part of the process for me. It was timing. It was this place at LSU and the administration and the opportunity to bring this program back. It really had nothing to do with the Alabama game.
Coach, we'll take one final question here to our left, second row. Bob?
Right there. Hey, Brian, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. I think I read this right, that Brad Davis is the only assistant you retained.
That's correct.
I wondered why you did that and what went into that thought process, and just what kind of coach you think Brad is and what he'll do with the O-line.
So Brad was the interim head coach, so I got a chance to see him in a different capacity, in much more of a, I would say, leadership capacity, where he got an opportunity to really touch all of the players, and I really loved his ability to reach players. And I felt like if he could reach all of those players, how well would he do with 15 to 18 players? Also, he worked for Sam, and I consider Sam Pittman one of the best, if not the best, offensive line coach in college football. And so he's been tutored under the best, played the position from Baton Rouge, just all those things together. And then my time with him and his want and desire to be part of LSU made it an easy decision for me.
Hey, Coach Kelly, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Brian Kelly. You can take a deep breath. You just got through your first SEC Media Days appearance at the podium.
So let's see. I'm sure the players are going to speak next.
That aside for a second, Jordan,
So,
start with you on what he said. A lot of it based around competitive advantage and being competitive, but
I'm sure they'll get the BJ Ojolari, Jack Besh, and then other one.
Brian Kelly mentioned, look, I have a lot of confidence.
Oh, Mike Jones.
As far as the money that we have to put into
Those are the three players that are supposed to speak today. So we'll see. We'll probably take a few minute break and find out. Then we'll find out.
That's not at Alabama or Georgia. Is it good enough to be competitive in NIL?
Yeah, I don't think the player questions will be too long. Coaches aren't gonna let the players get drilled by questions left and right. So.
LSU is oftentimes, and this roster might be as well, a quarterback superstar.
Yeah, Mike Jones who? Mike Jones who?
Competing for a national championship. So for all those schools, I think if you're chasing them, you have to be better than them in NIL.
I think Brian Kelly did a good job of understanding who he is, who LSU is becoming, and that we are not going to be competitive with Texas A&M. You just don't have enough. But why? Because we have the old money, man. It's just what it is. They have way more than everybody else when it comes to NIL terms. But that doesn't mean you can't win. And Greg talked about it earlier, that Texas A&M, just for all the money and all this, they're still disappointing at the end of the season. Take LSU, if you win the right games at the right times under this coach, you will not be disappointed at the end of the season. Brian Kelly will get results on the field. That is what he's always done. That is what he will deliver at LSU. Now, will it be this year? I'm not sure. But in due time, he will get the results that you want.
All right, so we'll probably take a commercial break, and then they'll come back, and then maybe the players will speak. Hey, the players speak then. Next.
I think Mississippi State's a brutal game, obviously. That's obviously a big one that Mississippi State has traditionally played pretty well in. Of course, it's at home, so that's beneficial for LSU. I think you could very easily find a way to 4-0. You go to Auburn. That'll be a tough spot. So you look at what Auburn has for
I think he mentioned something like that. I think LSU 8-4, 9-3, maybe 9-3 at best. 8-4 sounds about right. It does. It sounds about right.
Of making guys feel comfortable that are from Louisiana. For far too long, and if you talk to Ed Ogeron, you talk to Les Miles before that, there are far too many schools, Alabama in particular, that are going to Monroe, Louisiana, that are going into New Orleans and getting quality pieces. That can't happen. Now, they're going to look everywhere. This is still LSU. It's still a destination program that can recruit nationally. They'll get into Houston, get into Dallas, they can go into Florida. But ultimately, they have to get the guys in Louisiana that they want. That's a high priority. And everyone wants to talk about, well, what's the fit? He doesn't fit. He doesn't know Louisiana. He can't figure out how to get around Louisiana. It doesn't matter. He understands the importance of the footprint. And if you prioritize that on the recruiting trail, you can win a national championship. Just by those guys alone in that state, you can win a national championship. So putting up a fence, getting the other guys to make sure that you add to that recruiting class that you're going to generate. But either way, man, I thought for a guy that is considered an outsider, he did a really good job of explaining what his vision is going to be and what they're going to prioritize.
An outsider, not funny. I mean, I remember being a player, being a Cali boy coming out to the South, and it's like I didn't care where my coach was from. I wanted to make sure he communicated well, and I felt valued, and I wanted to win games. Yeah, and any size, shape, regionality.
Yeah, Auburn and Florida might be down. But we lost to Auburn last year. But.
Favorite dish he's had so far.
He's winning people over already.
And we'll have a whole lot of crawfish etouffee if he starts winning with this program. Like I mentioned, we will end up getting into the quarterbacks a little bit more because there was a lot there. But one of the things that he brought up was tailoring offenses to each quarterback's skill set. I thought that was interesting, but maybe not the most practical thing. I'll start with you, Greg, and just what you thought about what he said related to that.
Well, when you have quarterbacks that have different skill sets, you have to have an offense that's going to best allow them to be comfortable within the offense. Right. Jane Daniels is not going to run the same offense as Miles Brennan is not going to run the same offense as Nussmeier. You have to be willing to adapt and change. And if you look at the predecessors, Les Miles in particular, he was going to fit a square peg in a round hole, and you knew what you were going to get. Well, great coaches don't do that. They are not only are they
Bot girls coming in here again, man. Jeez. Trying to get my channel taken over.
But he's also going to look internally. They're going to self-scout. They're going to say, all right, what do we do well?
Well, if there's 71 going to Bama, I'd be really, I'd take that in a heartbeat. I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Any quarterback coach, or any head coach for that matter, that's their hand in the offense. If you're not tailoring the offense to your quarterback's skill set, you are forcing the quarterback to play at a disadvantage. And if you get that reputation as a coach, it's not going to be good for you in the future.
All right, we will get into those quarterbacks coming up next. Will it be Jaden Daniels, the transfer from Arizona State? Will it be Miles Brennan, who's been around forever? Will it be Garrett Nussmeier, the redshirt freshman? They've got depth, as Brian Kelly mentioned. But how does it play out on the field? Who wins the job? That's next on SEC Now.
So they're going to commercial break. So maybe we'll have some. Maybe the players will speak next. Be right back. Crazy. All right, I'm back. Ooh-wee. Yeah, I mean, Alabama definitely was not. They looked very lethargic against LSU last year, but LSU had chances to win that game, but the offense couldn't do shit. So, but LSU will have better coaching this year than they had last 2 years. Last 2 years, the coaching was horrible. It's horrible. So hopefully we can just get a little better, get better coaching. And they'll win 8, maybe 9 games, maybe. But all right. Yeah, Texas A&M being on the road will be tough. I know they're gonna have some new faces in their team, but just playing over there is tough. But we'll see what happens. We'll find out though. Yeah, LSU had chances to beat Alabama last year. The offense was just horrible. Couldn't block Will Anderson in the second half. So hopefully hear the players speak. Hear the players speak here. Hopefully the offensive line will play better too this coming season. Yeah, hopefully we can run the football this year. Well, if LSU goes 10-2, that would be exceeding expectations because Vegas has them at 7.7 wins. I still say 8-9 wins, but we'll see.
So he's a guy that can get you in the right system, get the ball distributed to your talent. If you can run the football, you can't run the football. We saw this last year. LSU's not a good offense.
Yeah, in 2012, Miles got hold on, 1 second. Got conservative. Hey, what do you mean?
And they were great against the pass. DBU, right? Might be self-playing DBU, and there's a few others that have. Everybody's DBU. All right, that's fine. Besides the point, but LSU, really, in the last 10, 15 years, you can make a strong argument that would be the best argument to be made when it comes to DBU. They finished 80th in the country against the pass. Now, explain to me, so the team that ran the ball with great efficiency forever, and a team that has always been great against the
Damn dog eating shit outside or something like that. Damn dog eating shit or something like that. All right, nobody cares what you say, Cody. Why are you worried about what a man wears? I love the fashion police who cares about what people wearing. Fashion police. Fashion police. 3 quarterbacks starting for LSU starting job. Miles Brennan, Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier. I think it's going to be. I don't know. Miles Brennan. Can he stay healthy? That's the question with him. So I don't know if Miles Brennan can stay healthy enough. I mean, he's been hurt last 2 years. So if Brennan can stay healthy, I mean, he can throw the football, but they're gonna have to be able to run the football too. It wasn't until what mid-year last year when they decided to change up their blocking scheme. That was a Florida game when all of a sudden LSU started running the football better because they changed their blocking scheme because some kind of analyst told Ogeron that they're running the wrong blocking scheme. That was crazy last year with that shit. Man, thank you, True.
If you're going on upside, it's going to be Jaden Daniels. The problem is, with Jaden Daniels' upside, there also comes inconsistency. For whatever reason, you watch Arizona State the last couple of years.
Yeah, the players hadn't spoken yet. My God, somebody slapped me in the freaking head again. Brian Kelly spoke. Like, that's the second fucking time I've done that. Somebody hit me in the freaking head again. Need to get his fucking name out my head.
If we can just get consistency from him, his ceiling's higher than that of the other two. It's just for whatever.
Ogeron's gone, thank God, because last 2 years he was a horrible head coach. Made horrible decisions, replacing coaches. Made horrible in-game decisions. He was just horrible. Horrible. He was too busy with other stuff. They don't show in the main broadcast, really? I was expecting. I thought they would show that on. Huh. Why would they not show that on the main channel? That's crazy. Yeah, why would they not show the players speaking on the main channel? That was one of the reasons why I was watching today. I wanted to hear the coach speak and the players speak.
And if you look at their defensive line, Olajari can get it off the edge. Mason Smith's poised to take the next step here now in year number 2 to potentially lead towards All-SEC contention, maybe even All-American contention. You have Alligator on the other side. There's reason to believe that this defensive line could be among the best in the league. Maybe not with Georgia, maybe not with Alabama, but maybe 3 without question.
Well, you think about it, LSU has never lacked for talent, right? No matter who the coaches
So we'll see. It's crazy they won't shit. They don't.
Brian Kelly puts all of that together. And coming up next on SEC Now, we're getting into the Georgia Bulldogs. Who will be on top, and what can Stetson Bennett do with another opportunity with this Bulldog team? A reprise, if you will. They celebrate again like that in the national championship. We're talking the Dogs.
Wow. I guess they're not gonna let them speak. I mean, wow. So they interviewed him in the back. Okay, well. I thought that they let the players speak for like 5 minutes. Oh well. As soon as I man. Trying to see something here. I just think that they, so when does, I think Ole Miss is next. Trying to find something here. When's, they speak? There it is. So 1:30. Lane Kiffin's supposed to speak. What time is this? 12:20. Man. Yeah, I was hoping to hear him speak. Oh well. That's weird. I was really hoping that the players would be man. I was like looking forward to that. I thought they were going to show that on the SEC network. Oh, well. That's crazy. Well, if they're done with LSU, I mean, kind of ticks me off a little bit. Oh well. Sucks, man. Well. I guess the LSU portion's over with. Yeah, I mean, if it's over with, I got some stuff I want to do. Eat lunch maybe. But yeah, I was hoping that they would.
Get the whole thing and say I knew it.
Well, I guess. I guess the guy was man. I guess they aren't gonna show it on TV. So. Oh man, so yeah, I'll be live tonight for the home run derby. Home run derby starts at what, 7 o'clock? So we'll see who wins the home run derby. Oh, it's pouring down rain in Baton Rouge. I live on the North Shore. It's bright and sunshiny and hot. But yeah, so tonight, if you want to watch the home run derby with me, you can. And got nothing else to do tonight. There's nothing else on tonight, sports wise. So we'll see if who wins the home run derby. So yeah, I guess they really aren't going to show it. Oh well. All right, guys, y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all tonight. So yeah, I was hoping they were going to show the players, but guess not. All right, have a good one, and I'll see if for some chance if they do trot them out there. I'll see if I can start a stream real quick, but it doesn't look like that's happening, because it probably would have already happened. Oh well. Have a good one.